Absolutely.
True.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's Ricky Emotional Times here once again. So tonight we are joined by London extreme metal hooligans Mutagenic Host. Hot on the heels of releasing their debut album, The Diseased Machine, I felt it was the perfect time to catch up with the band. So tonight we've got guitarist vocalist Jack, we've got vocalist Ash, we've got bassist Eddie, and we've got drummer George. But unfortunately, guitarist vocalist Dan couldn't be with us tonight. It's a shame really because he's only known about it for a fucking fortnight, but never mind. It just gives us free reign to take the mickey out of him. So I thought I would just ask, how the devil are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you.
Very
We're
Good.
doing good.
very good.
Good.
Yes, Al.
Yeah.
Well, I do have a few questions. What I generally do in my interviews, I don't know if you've seen them on Ricky Moshful Times on YouTube, just a wee cheap plug there. I kind of do like a deep dive when I do my interviews. So we're going to find out quite a bit about Mutagenic Host then. So things have been happening very quickly for all things Mutagenic Host. The album Disease Machine came out in the middle, for me, it came out in the middle of nowhere. So how does it feel to finally get the new music out there for the masses to hear and let everyone know what Mutagenic Host is all about?
Feels
Go on,
fantastic.
Jack.
Yeah.
You take this one.
Yeah, I mean, this has been a process, this album. I mean, we've been going since 2022, so like just over 3 years now. And the demo, like, we spent about a year writing that, but then this album ended up being much more of a process than we anticipated. We wanted it to be like really good. We wanted to make sure that we weren't just kind of going through the motions and just making an album with like a few good songs and then some filler just to like complete it. We wanted to make sure we spent a lot of time on the whole thing, and it was very arduous. And yeah, we spent a long time writing and processing it and learning it and recording, and then having issues with the recordings, and also just generally trying to get it out there was a long process. And so it feels amazing to actually that people are enjoying it. But, yeah.
Well, it was 8 months. I was gonna say it was
Exactly.
8 months, really.
It was 8 months,
You know,
and we were
yeah.
working for like 8 months solid, like
Yeah.
pretty much nonstop, weekly, doing writing sessions, like rehearsal sessions, because we wanted to be really good. And luckily, people have responded well to it, which is really nice of them. But it feels great to have it done. It feels like a stepping stone, because I think we've learned a ton of like how to do the process better, how to like streamline our writing and our like cohesion as a band. So in the future we can do better.
Well, Jack, I think that's the last question I'm going to ask you, because you've actually just answered my next half a dozen questions. So thanks very much for that. But does it also help that you're all from London? So I take it, did you meet up like once or once a fortnight, or was it even more than that?
More than that, yeah. It was like
Doing like once a week.
Yeah, at least
Pretty
once a week during the like the core of the writing process. Yeah.
Because
basically,
sorry, Ash.
no, I was just going to say, guitarist Sammy Tahino, that's not in the band anymore, but who's our great friend, and who helped write this album. We took up his flat that he had in North London, and yeah, we would everybody would go away and they would write their best riffs, record them, bring them to Sammy's. We'd meet up once a week. We kind of piece it all together in that respect. So, and then basically anything that wasn't any good that we thought we'd just get rid of. And then once kind of the majority of all of the riffs and the strong structures were together, George would then go away and do his part, and I would go away and do our part, come all back together, put them into mixes, and then then we practiced them. So it was a serious process.
Yeah.
This is actually the worst band ever to interview because Jack answered half a dozen of my questions. Ash has just answered the questions after that. So what instruments did you use to record? No, we do have a few questions to go before then.
Triangle.
But we are going to talk about the constructions of the songs. But before we do that, I just wanted, especially yourself, Ash, because I spoke to you before. Going by the radio show last Thursday, I don't know if you remember it and what you said. But it's a bit of a change in direction for you because you and Dan were in like a downward spiral. I don't know what the other guys were in beforehand. What made you and Dan concentrate and move into like death metal?
Well, I mean, I was always part of the death metal scene, as I said on that show. Like when I was 16, I had a band called Garot, like wild. There were people doing fucking crabcore and had stupid fucking haircuts. Like I was still doing death metal back then, during the whole MySpace era. And I had a whole period where I was a paid music journalist and I was always involved in music. But I suppose when I got and I was part of the hardcore scene in some respect. But when I came to London, I was really part of the hardcore scene. And really what it was for me, because I started this band before all of these were in it, was that hardcore is very like transitory. And there's a lot of really incredible stuff that's written in hardcore that only gets 3 months worth of play. And death metal for me always has had this very, this longevity and this almost like a legendary kind of status, and I wanted to make something that was of worth, and I wanted to make something that would last the test of time, because that's what death metal is, and it will always be that. It never grows old. It doesn't wane in sound. It never sounds out of date. You know what I mean? Whereas a lot of hardcore goes between. So after me and George were best friends, me and Dan were best friends. Met Jack and me and Jack started crafting the sound of Mutagenic Host, and I'm really glad that we met because we're all best friends now. So that's really what started that. Good. To be fair.
Do you know, guys, I like his answer there. I would keep him in the band. But Eddie, you're on mute just now. You're on mute just now. But so how did they find you? How did you audition for the band?
Me joining the band actually came out from my best friend was in a band called Nix with Dan, the guitarist who's not here.
Okay.
And I filled on guitar for I think one show, and then obviously Dan got to know me through that, and I was actually on my way back from Bloodstock, and I got a message from Dan saying, "Hey mate, do you want to join Mutagenic Host?" So yeah, and a few months later, I was learning the songs and getting ready to have a first audition, and they decided to have me. So,
I bet you they still made you audition twice, though.
Yeah, something like that. They made sure they were making the right decision. I'll give you that.
It wasn't anything to do with his playing. The reason why he got a double audition in this band. So Eddie's been really modest. Eddie has been playing bass since he was 6 years old.
Wow.
Dan was like, I know this kid. He looks like he looks like Corpse Grinder. Look at this Cryptopsy bass cover on Instagram, and I looked at that and thought, my fuck God, this kid is insane. And then when we met him, he came with, it was almost like a bit of a mirror of me, where I was like, fuck me, this kid's like me. He's got all the balls. He's got all the fucking confidence, and he's got also the musical nous as well. So Eddie is an incredible musician. It's more the case that it's the running of his mouth that's been the reason why I had to audition a couple of times. But now
we've already got enough with Ash, and now we have Eddie, and it's
we have two.
Good stuff, guys. Good stuff. But now that the album has been released for a couple of months, then, and there's been plenty of time for reviews to come in, how have the reviews been so far for the album?
Really good. I mean, obviously we like the music, because if you don't like your own music, then what the fuck are you
Yeah.
doing? Should try to
Did
be
you
your own
expect
favorite
it to
band.
have the impact that it's had?
No, I mean, we hoped like people would dig it, and we thought we put enough like effort into it, and we thought it was good,
Yeah.
enough to reach like an audience that would enjoy it. But the response has been pretty incredible, and some reviews from um, certain like reviewers and magazines, like
I think you were
that.
in Metal Hammer, were you not?
Yeah, Metal Hammer, which is insane.
Yeah,
Like I grew
Yeah.
up reading that, and to be in
yeah.
it with a good review is crazy. Go on, Ash.
Yeah, shout out Dom Lawson, like who see you
Yeah.
later, my friends, take it easy. Shout out Dom Lawson, 8 out of 10. Like he followed us from the get-go, and it was Tom Cronin from Celestial Sanctuary, who's one of my best friends, and obviously we're closely we're close together, the two bands. He put Dom onto us, and then he surprised us with that. That's insane. The other
Yeah.
one is Angry
Angry
Metal
Metal
Guy,
Guy.
yeah, who
Yeah, I know.
obviously fucking hate. They
Yeah,
all
that was
hate.
sweet.
They all hate death metal, and they hate metal. They just hate music, but they seem to not hate us, which is crazy. And we got album of the month in January. But yeah, I mean, if you
You
just
didn't
search
pay
our
them to do
name,
that?
I
Did we pay
mean,
him?
I don't think anyone could pay them to do anything.
Yeah. Yeah, but it must also be great as well now that, as we said, like the album's been out for a couple of months. It must also be the thing with Spotify and Bandcamp and stuff like that. You've got people all over the world that can listen to your music. Have you had any strange and funny and weird destinations for your CDs to go?
Well, a couple go to
Oman,
like Australia, which has been pretty mental.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never thought it'd like be that far.
Now,
Yeah, go on.
I have never heard
Oman.
of all the interviews that I've done over 200 interviews. I've never heard of a band saying that they've sold a CD in Oman.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's crazy. So was
sorry.
the postage ridiculous?
Yeah. I don't know why these people are paying some crazy postage for this shit.
Yeah.
I'm very impressed. It's like I wouldn't do it, but
Yeah.
but I appreciate them for paying.
In Indonesia, like having to fill out the fucking form, the customs form, because I do all the merch and the sending, having to fill out Indonesia on a customs form, right? Where he's put the PO box on there, put his fucking mobile number, and then this crazy. I mean, I just couldn't even find. The woman had to do like a kind of special. I don't know what she did, but she had to find out where this fucking place was. I mean, we are sending it to the corners of the world at the moment, and it's the fucking most insane thing ever. I think a lot of that comes from Bandcamp, and I'm just going to shout out Bandcamp because we went on. What was his name? What's his name?
You did
Fuck. There's a guy that does the. He's going to kill me for this, but. He does the metal show on there on Bandcamp. We went on there and did an interview there as well. And I just feel like that Bandcamp has almost pushed us to the absolute corners of the world. Like before we did the demo, we had like Excarnation Records come to us and they released CD in Brazil. We get multiple requests weekly at the moment to like put out patches in fucking Indonesia, in Thailand, like that whole Asian scene. So, like I would love to do a fucking world tour. Someone's just got to pay for it, I suppose.
Yeah.
Well, that's when you need to speak to Eddie and see if the finances are available. You can always do a raft. You don't need to like fly by first class or something like that. Just get out there, man, because it sounds as if you're getting a following. So definitely get it done. But was there ever a conversation of the Disease Machine being an EP? I ask this because you've got the new school who'll do like a couple of months single, and just keep the name constantly out there. But you've also got the mixture of the old school who like the physical product, they like the vinyl, they like the tapes, they like the CDs, they like looking at the artwork, they like the lyrics. But was there ever a time where you thought, let's do an EP, and then maybe in 6 months to a year we'll do another EP, blah, blah, blah?
Yeah. I mean, basically...
George.
Okay, George, go for it.
I mean,
George, do you want to take it?
During like the beginning of last year, we were like I'm in an iron of like what to do. So
Yeah.
we weren't too sure whether we were going to do like an EP or an album.
Yeah.
So we just kind of decided to do an
What was your
album.
take? What
So
did you want to do?
I wasn't really too sure at the time. I just feel like the album was the best call.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. No, cool. Cool.
I
What do you want to say,
I
Jack?
mean,
Want to go, Ash?
Yeah.
no, go on, Jack. You say
Okay.
one.
I mean,
I'm all right.
yeah. I mean, it's pretty much what George said, but I just want to talk about kind of what you were mentioning about like EP versus album, the new school and old school, because I think nowadays the single and EP is very, very powerful in streaming because
Yeah.
it's easier to make, it's easier to get out more consistently. And I think in genres like hardcore, mostly hardcore. I mean, some other ones they're really like doing great at just pumping out these incredible demos and EPs and singles
Yeah.
that kind of like there's a lot of bands where they don't have full length albums and they're great bands. But
Yeah.
I think for us, which we talked about, and with death metal in general, and there's different opinions, of course, within us and the general scene, is that full lengths are very death metal. It's very
Yeah.
what the best bands.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. And like Charlie from Monolith, he was like, "Why are you guys doing an album?" When he was recording our vocals, and like the best answer is that we want to create legacy. We don't want to. I don't want to. It was never our intention to ever like put out something that's throwaway. Like it's always been the case that Mutagenic Host were going to be a fucking death metal band, and if we're going to be a fucking death metal band, we need to create a fucking album. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I would say that creating albums, is the best form of is the best form of expression in terms of that particular kind of
Tells a story.
art, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't have written The Diseased Machine if it was an EP because I wouldn't have covered half of the things that I wanted to cover. You know what I mean? So,
well said.
No,
Eddie, do you have thoughts on death metal albums and death metal EPs?
He's too
an
young for that.
18-year-old.
Yeah,
I
what
think-
do the youth think?
From my experience, like all the death metal albums that I've grown up listening to and things like that, I haven't once. I don't know if it's just a thing a coincidence or whatever. I haven't once found an EP that I really like as much as an album that I really like.
Yeah.
And that's because I want to listen to the album start to finish and view the album as a whole kind of one entity instead of the songs, and I think with a full album, it's much easier to do that. You have a lot more space to work with.
Absolutely.
And also, Rick, just to say on what Jack was saying, like we don't want to be some fucking streaming band. Like I know we all have to put our shit on Spotify, and I know we all have to put our shit on Bandcamp. God bless, by the way. I won't say shit about Bandcamp. Bandcamp's fucking sick. But like, we're not fucking, we're not some fucking little Tweety Bird fucking EP. That just ain't. Why would we even do that? Like when we're trying to follow in the footsteps of fucking Bolt Thrower, of Carcass, of whoever, all these incredible bands, they didn't do that. Like the whole tape swapping element of death metal has always been a thing. And to be honest with you, they were always albums anyway. So like we ain't, why would we even waste our time? You know what I'm saying?
See, I don't know whether none of you are old enough to know. Tape trading is exactly a thing. I remember like you're sending £1 or £2, it's pound notes in an envelope to somewhere down in England and stuff like that. I remember sending it to a band twice and they never fucking sent me their demo. But anyway, but that's the way that things were done. And I hark for those days and the fanzines that you read and all the rest of it, But now you've got Bandcamp and Spotify. You can listen to any band in the world. You listen to 6 seconds, you go, nah, I don't like it. And you instantly dismiss the band. So it's hard. It's a double-edged sword. You don't know whether you keep on doing the single, couple month single, or hope for the best with your album. But you guys have done it the right way.
I mean, the other thing, the other thing as well, Rick, is if you only give an album 2 seconds, right?
Yeah.
some albums take a long time to grow on you. Do you know what I mean? How
100%.
in terms of listening to music, you need to give it the time of day. Do you know what I mean? And an album is the right thing to do, and that's what people have done with the Disease Machine. Because I'll tell you on Spotify, all of the plays in terms of the numbers, not that we care, but they're all very similar, meaning that people are listening to the album in full.
Good.
And that's what we wanted. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like one single's 40,000 plays and one's 900 play. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
No, fair comment. Going back to the album for a wee second, I noticed that your demo that you released 2 years before the album, none of the songs are on the debut album. So I was just wondering, was this due to the varying sound, or you didn't think the songs were good enough for the album, you were sick of playing them, or you're just such prolific songwriters, you just had completely new songs? This album is absolutely brand new.
They weren't good. I mean, it sounds scathing towards them because I'll always love those songs. They're important, but like we want to make better songs. It's pretty simple. Yeah. And I think they are better songs.
Yeah.
Just
to add to that, like neurological necrosis is actually a B-side to the Genotoxic demo.
True,
and we utilized we played all those songs for like a whole year. We'd done a whole year of touring. We played with bands like Incantation, played with bands like Help Me Out Lads, played with Cruelty with the K from Japan. Who else did we play with? What bands did we play with? I can't even remember now. Undeath, yeah. So like, Cruelty. So we played all these shows on just 5 songs, and it wasn't I mean, Jack's a little bit more scathing about it because like Jack basically wrote that EP, to be honest with you. So like he's like,
I'm not trying to be
no, I know. You're like that's not my best shit, but really it was a natural progression to just be like, oh, now we just want to write new songs, and and thank God we did, right?
Yeah. But still, for those that are new to the band, then how would you say the new material lies in terms of the sound of the Genotoxic demo? And do you think you've found the sound that you've been looking for with the Disease Machine, or do you think that will keep changing and keep progressing with each release?
Good question.
George, Eddie?
I think it will keep progressing each release.
Yeah.
I like to think we'll like bring some new sounds, new ideas.
I think with the amount of ground that was covered between the Genotoxic demo and the Disease Machine, it's like I would not be surprised if there's like I wouldn't say completely different, but there's a whole new dimension to what we release and what we write, just because of the time that we spent together, and obviously me joining since the recording of Disease Machine. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm excited to see what I can bring to that and how I can influence the rest of the band's playing as well, and what direction it goes from there.
Do you know what I really like?
Yeah,
sorry?
No, go on, Rick, go on.
What I really liked about the Disease Machine is the groove, the riffs. I mean, there's blast beats interspersed within the album, but I couldn't listen to an album 30 minutes solid of blast beats. I like the old school, I like the grooves, I like the riffs, I like the obituaries, the autopsies and stuff that you used to bang your head to and stuff. But George, do you see your drumming style changing as the sound progresses? Do you see more blast beats coming in, or are you going to have to experiment a wee bit more? What do you think?
It's a good question. I'd personally like to incorporate some more blast beats and do some like more technical stuff for sure. So
is this because it's your band's history, or is this just your next step, do you think?
I would say that's like my next step. Just like it's good to push ourselves and do some new stuff. So
yeah. Well, Jack, you better start writing faster riffs, mate.
I'm on I mean, I can listen to albums that are blast beats for 30 minutes, so I'm all right with that. Yeah.
I can't, and just on the groove stuff, like when Jack and I were getting together, we were saying that groove has to basically live within every single track. Without it, Yeah, there's no
Yeah.
mutagenic host, and
Yeah.
just just on bringing Eddie into the band, like this band now has basically, because before Dan Bulford, who was a guitarist, was a bassist, you know, he it meant that the band's kind of just to talk about football for a second, like people weren't obviously in their right positions, but now everybody is in their right position. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just me and you, by the way, Rick. And Eddie. And now that we got now now that we've got Eddie in the band, it means that we can do we can write music as a much more synergistic kind of in a more synergistic way.
Yeah.
We're very excited to see what Eddie can bring, and also just on with George and his drumming. Like George wasn't even playing drums before this band, but is like the probably the highest graded in this band in terms of actual music performance, and like the way that he drums is he is like he understates himself because he's absolutely insane. Like I never heard someone hit a snare. Thank you, brother. I've never heard someone hit a snare as hard as George, if I'm honest. Like when he hits one, it's like your eardrums bursting, bro. Like, do you know what I mean?
Wow. Yeah, I think it's important as a drummer to make sure like you're just smacking them and just giving it some beans.
Well,
There's too
being
many
a drummer
drummers
as
out
well.
there that are just like tickling the kit all the time. So
well, I'm afraid you've pretty much given a red flag to all the Scottish bands up here. Like, if you ever touring up there, you're not
really?
using their snare. So you have to bring your own snare.
For me, the thing with George has been like me being a drummer as well. I remember the first rehearsal that I had with Host, like, and seeing George play the drums. It was like I've obviously played much less time than he has,
Yeah.
but is the power and the consistency of which that you play. I think is quite fundamental to the band, in writing as well as live.
I love that. Do you know? I love that. It's refreshing to hear 100% a band that are 100% behind each other. And support each other. And there's no you take the piss and stuff like that, but at the same time, you are serious musicians and you all rate each other very, very highly. I mean, I love the fact that Eddie's so young, but he talks so brilliantly. He's far more mature than his years, so he's yet to shave, right enough by the looks of things. But anyway, I just have to ask one question since we're talking about that. The highlight of the album for me is Swarm. Who wrote the opening riff?
So the funny thing with Swarm is that Sammy wrote all of it. I think he wrote the entire song.
Did he?
Yeah, which is really funny. So we can't really say anything. But yeah, that's actually the only one where I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think he wrote the whole thing. Yeah,
we've literally talked.
Respect to Sammy, he's a great writer.
Yeah, shout out to Sammy. We love you, dude.
Yeah,
love that guy.
We've literally talked about maybe like bringing Sammy like into the band in like a writing capacity because like he also wrote Hive and Intelligence, which is like which is like when we play that song live, like people just go fucking insane. And the funniest thing about that song is it's the most hardcore song we've ever written, and Sammy literally has barely ever listened to hardcore in his whole fucking life. So
he doesn't actually like hardcore. He like actively doesn't like it. And then he would bring riffs and I'd be like, Sammy, this is the hardest like hardcore breakdown I've ever heard. And he's like, I guess so. And that's my Finnish accent. But yeah, respect to that guy. But yeah, loved writing with him.
Good stuff. Good stuff. But yeah. Cheers for that, guys. But going on about the recording experiences for all you all, then it's probably a question for all of you, so we'll take it in turns. So with the Disease Machine, was it a simple process of recording the album, everything went straight forward, or was there a part of the album for each and every single one of you where you just had to do over and over again because you weren't satisfied with it, it didn't sound right, you were getting feedback from the producer, whatever? Was there a particular part of a song that really annoyed you? Jack, how was the recording experience for you?
For sure. So I have the red light syndrome that people that people it's a plague upon musicians. Um, where yeah, I mean it's pretty obvious, but when the recording starts, my brain sometimes doesn't want to cooperate. Most of them was like okay, like did it all right. The funny one is Gene Stealer, like the beginning of Gene
Yeah.
Stealer is like quite simple. Just picking pattern, just like open picking pattern. It just fucking drove me insane. I just like could not get it right. And I knew going in that was going to be the one that would fuck me because when we were recording it and demoing it, the same thing happened where it's just like any little shakiness in the hand and it doesn't hit quite right. So I think yeah, I had Sammy do his guitars first and then I did mine afterwards for that song.
I have to ask then, if that was the experience for you in the studio, is that still in your brain when you're playing it live?
No, it's
Not
different.
at all.
I think for me live, like yeah, the comfortability is much different. I mean, it's different for different people. Like some people in studio or at home, that's very comfortable. For me, being on stage is much more comfortable when the energy
Yeah.
is higher and there's kind of, we're all together playing at the same time. It feels much better. So live, that's much better. And I also don't have to play the beginning of that song. Dan plays it, and then I come in, so it's all good.
Oh, good. Oh, good. So you addressed it. Cool. Going to the top right then, George, how was the recording experience for you?
All in all, it wasn't like too bad. Like I felt pretty well prepared. But there were certain songs that were definitely more difficult. So I would say like Swarm, for example, was pretty tricky because it was like lots of like double kicks and like long sections. So that was pretty tough.
Yeah.
And like the actual physical playing of the songs was the endurance was hard. So that was the
Yeah.
challenging part for me. Yeah.
So how long was it recorded over? How many sessions did you have?
I think I did it in like 2 days. Was it 2 days?
Yeah.
Was
Yeah.
it 2 or 3?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Cool.
Yeah.
but yeah,
I
I
mean,
managed to get it like all smashed out. So it was good.
Good. Good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Ash, how's the experience for you? How was it on your throat? Because imagine if you had a similar kind of time period as George to record all the vocals. It kind of took it out of your throat a wee bit. So how did you prepare for that? And what kind of rituals do you have before you go into the studio as well as before you do a 40-minute set?
Well, I'll let me give a quick lowdown on how the whole album went. So Dan's not here today, but like Dan is like a major proponent in like our organization in terms of both songwriting and also in terms of recording. Like so
Yeah.
like what happened was that is we went into the studio and George smashed all his drums out and did fucking very well. And then there was a period where Jack and Sammy had come back from tour and they weren't feeling great, and as in they were ill from tour, and that made that recording part very difficult. And then what happened was that Dan and Jack and Sammy had to basically go into a personal space and sort stuff out. It also then had to go to Balti on Stuck of a Name Studios in Nottingham, and they had to sort that all out there. So that was like the first two parts of it. And then the third part of it was that I went to Monolith with Charlie, and I had to do mine all in one session. I did the whole album in like 3 hours, something like that. So the way the way I always use Melissa Cross's warm-ups wherever I go. And yeah, had to just be fucking ready to go because we are burning through money, and which was no one's fault. It just was that, this was a pretty technical album and not really a technical album at the same time, but
Yeah.
there were parts of it that were difficult and parts of it that weren't. But when it comes to vocals, I'm just fucking ready to go.
So,
I'm just
so are you
I am.
like
My problem is like I say, I fucking
So are you like Carl Willits, who's like 10 fags and 10 beers and I'll go into the studio? Or do you also, I've got so many vocalists that use Vocal Zone, for example. I interviewed Jason when he was ingested and he had like a suitcase and it was full of like Vocal Zone teas, like different brands of herbal
Yeah.
teas, you know? So do you do anything like that?
So not when I can, if on a day, I could do my vocals like all day, right? But when it comes to then the next couple of days, right? If we're on tour, yeah, then and I'm talking all the time, as you obviously know, and smoking and drinking like fucking 10 fags every hour, then yeah, the vocal zone teas, they definitely work. And I've only just started using them, but they definitely help. But when it came to even the our release show, I'd lost my voice by that point, and I just by pure stubbornness and using the diaphragm just managed to get the vocals out. So, but I need to work on longevity for my voice because it can get quite thin quite quickly. So
Yeah.
I'm a one-hit wonder, I feel.
That's what she said last night. Eddie,
We
the old ones are the best ones. Eddie, what about yourself? I'd imagine with your musical talent, you just went in the studio, half an hour later, you recorded the album and left.
I wasn't on the album. I joined after.
He's not on the
Now you
album.
are.
Oh.
Now you are.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Well,
Free
I'll
pass.
change for the next one. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll turn it around then. Now that you've joined the band then, and imagine like some of the songs off the album are maybe like a year old, 6 months, a year old and stuff like that. Are you already writing new songs?
So I've kind of started started getting into that kind of headspace of what can I do to kind of produce something new. Obviously, that will go with, you know, this band, and it's like what Ash said earlier about having the players in the right place. Do you know what I mean? Like, how can I produce something that will inspire creativity throughout the rest of the band? Do you know what I mean? When I show it to them, but I haven't really started writing a lot of stuff yet. I had this conversation a few days ago. Where I'd rather like write some riffs on guitar and show that to the guys, because as a bass player, I'm very like, that's a guitar riff, I'm gonna do that, and then halfway through do something completely different. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So I'm definitely going to be experimenting with writing on guitar and.
So you're a guitarist, bassist, and a drummer.
Yep, that's the one.
Okay. I don't think there's much. Why don't you just do a one-man project and just play all the instruments? You know?
Yeah, I could do like a black metal solo project that could go down quite nicely. You never know.
There you go. There you go.
Get a bit of dungeon synth going on.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for that, guys. Thanks a lot. But the album, The Disease Machine, has also been released in all formats through various record labels. So how did the labels Dry Cough, Memento Mori, and Gurgle and Gore all get in touch? I mean, was it a case of like you just mailed demos out to them all, or did you released it once and the labels sort of got an interest and they contacted you? How did it all come about?
Well, yeah. So like Tom Cronin introduced me to Andy at Drycoff, and Andy pretty much straight away, once we showed him like a couple of like demos, wanted to release the Gen Toxic demo. So he put that out, and then like the likes of Coffin Mulch from your way, and also us being long-term fans of Gurgle and Gore, Coffin Mulch put out a duo with both Dry Cough and Gurgle and Gore, and like I love Al and I love Coffin Mulch, and I just thought, well, you know, that's kind of what we should do. Like I feel like we didn't want to, you know, we're not actively trying to penetrate the mainstream, let's put it like that. So that was a very viable option. And then once we did that, Gurgle and Gore brought Memento Mori in, and I think Memento Mori, like, people don't quite really recognize, but they're very fucking well known at all over
100%
the globe. And I feel like you know, Yeah, they're really well known, and Raul's a fucking great guy, and yeah, I think that's the reason why we have so many fans in all these different regions is because the CD and them because all of the vinyl sold out. All of the tapes are sold out by a couple that we have, and I have like maybe another 100 CDs left. But at the moment, like the CDs are just flying out. Like so, yeah. So we're gonna do a repress of the vinyl as a second press. So looking forward to putting that out again.
Good.
DIY forever, man.
DIY or die. That's what we say up here in Scotland as well.
DIY or die.
But a shout out to Raoul as well, because when Ash was on my radio show, Raoul came in the chat and he was very active in the chat and things like that. You guys wouldn't notice because you didn't fucking tune in. So never mind. Never mind.
Sorry about that.
So that's really cool. So we kind of touched on it at the beginning. So how are the songs constructed within the band? Are they the main songwriters within the band, or do you feel that everybody has a part to play in making the album a collaborative effort and elevating above everything else that you've done previously? But I was also wondering, who's the moody one in the band, and who's the one that sends a riff at 4 o'clock in the morning saying, "This is my best riff yet, by the way"?
Multifaceted question. For the songwriting aspect, it's very collaborative, which I think is a massive strength. And I'm glad that we've tried to utilize that as much as possible. Bands that are I understand when bands are like, it's one person's vision, and I respect that. Yeah. But I know bands that are collaborative and then it kind of ends up just being one person not really listening to other people, I think is a weakness. And I think we have some really strong songwriters. And like I have a particular way of writing. Dan has a particular way of writing. George, obviously, the stuff he comes up with on drums is amazing. Because obviously, when you're writing a riff, I mean, I assume everyone does this because it only makes sense. You usually have drums in mind. You usually have the groove in mind for like how you want it to go. So usually if I bring a riff and then I see what the drums George puts on it, I'm like, this is just fucking amazing. Just elevates
I can start like programming beats on top of like the riffs that Jack will write. So
yeah,
it's kind of the process that we followed during the album writing in the Disease Machine. So
yeah, we kind of bring our best that we can, or the best things we're writing and coming up with, and then we kind of collectively listen to it, see what we think. A lot of stuff gets cut, and then what we think is the best.
Well, that's actually what I was going to ask. Like, because there's 5 in the band and you've all got different musical backgrounds and musical tastes, how do you keep it all together when negotiating what goes out of a song and what stays in of a song? Is there like a band vote, or is it just more feeling more than anything else?
It's feeling. We vote on it. It's like actually an extremely like diplomatic constructed where we have like a board where we write down each riff and we take votes on it. As far as like influences and stuff, luckily we all have, like differing tastes in some ways, but we collectively know what Mutagenic Host sounds like, what it should sound like, and kind of like how far we can push that, which is good because you always want to like, explore as much as you can, I think, to keep things fresh. But yeah, if there's things that will be like, I think that's about bit too different and I don't think it will meld. But yeah, it's very cohesive. And then obviously Ash has the job of like putting vocals and lyrics to our riffs. We don't write we don't have a vocal pattern that we write to it. We write first and then have vocals, which makes it trickier, but he's a very talented vocalist and writer. So
something tells me he does fuck all for a year and then you book the studio for 2 weeks and then he starts writing his lyrics.
No, he's writing.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You could not be more wrong.
Yeah. Well, Ash, we're going to come to that in a minute. Don't answer that. We're going to come to that in a minute. But Eddie, you're going to, I don't know whether you'll put a spanner in the works or you've got the whole mutagenic sound because of your youth, because of your background, and also because of your musical talent. It might be different to what the Disease Machine sounds like.
Well, that's what I'm interested to find out. For me, it's not really a case of it being different. It's more of a case of how well is how well are the rest of the band going to adapt to me writing things that may not be similar to what they're used to. Like, so I think most of us were all like pretty big fans of the old hardcore. You know what I mean? So there's that thing we got in common.
Yeah.
But in terms of bass playing, I think it's like going to be very interesting because obviously Dan is more of a guitar orientated man, and um, I'm very interested to see how me, who's like been playing things like Cryptopsy, like death albums. I used to sit in my room and learn through and through. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm interested to see like the difference that will bring. Do you know what I mean?
Something tells me you've got a fucking 8-string bass. George, you have got absolutely no chance, mate. Because
I've only just recently bought a 5-string actually, like a month before I joined the band.
Yeah. Crazy, man. Crazy. But now's where I ask yourself, Ash, with you being the main vocalist of the band, do you write all the lyrics for the album, or do you welcome contributions from all the band members? But also, what type of lyricist are you? Do you watch a lot of documentaries? Do you read a lot of books? Do you watch a lot of films? Or are you a person like you open the door and you see something, you've always got a pad and pen on you, you write something down, you come back to later? What type of lyricist are you?
Oh, what a question. I am a person that views the world and is then able to condense the most horrendous things into some form of kind of some form of kind of coupling of words and sentences. I distill things that I find disgusting into coherent sentences, and I've always been a writer. I'm a writer before a musician, so it's very cathartic for me to be able to actually finally at the age of 35 pull together these things into a coherent story that people can either vibe with or and understand. It's honestly it's crazy for me. Like I absolutely, I'm a literature. I'm all forms of kind of literary movements, but the idea of like being able to distill those into lyrics that that people understand, like is something that's
Yeah.
insane for me. So is I'm not as much as I'm a culture vulture, like I'm a massive gamer, book reader, film watcher. Like really, I think what it comes down to is the violent reality of what we're going through at the moment.
Yeah.
Those are the things that really they're the things that inspire me. So, whatever I put into the music, I is something that I've learned in life, and I live that. I live what I write. I live who I am. I'm not somebody that is that's a false entity that's trying to force a story. Like I only ever reflect a mirror toward the harshness of this world. And as it might sound, lame or whatever, but like I've written poetry for years. I've always been a poet before even really a lyricist. So when it comes down to the writing of the lyrics, they do all come from me. But I think that was just something that was the way to start the band, and the Disease Machine. Everybody else was very their time was wrapped up in creating the music.
Yeah.
But I think now as we move forward, which we're already talking about new ways in which to come together and collaborate more on what this next thing will be about, because it's very important that the next thing that we do is as good as the Disease Machine, and it isn't the Disease Machine 2.0, and we're already talking about that now. And like Jack is also is a great lyricist, and also Dan is a great lyricist because they've both been vocalists in their band as well. So more collaboration in terms of the thematics of the next piece and the way in which that we move from that, So, without sounding like an absolute wanker, because I live what I say. If anybody wants to come and speak to me and ask me, they'll see that I'm as true as my words. So, without sounding like a cunt, that is unfortunately the way that it is.
Did you say see you next Tuesday?
Oh, sorry, mate. I'm sorry, Rich. Sorry, mate.
Can I just say, I've asked many a vocalist, and I think that's the most passionate response that I've had. So I raised my Jack to you, mate, so fair play to that. But Jack, see, when you come to write lyrics, do you think there'll be foresee any difficulty in the way that you want portray Ash to sing them?
It's a great question. I think those things wouldn't arise because we would hone it together. Like, my writing style is different. Like, I don't really know where, where in the ether do all of our musical ideas and inspiration come from. But I write for some reason, some like Shakespearean old style. I used to be in black metal bands, so it fits that a lot more. Kind of like the old school medieval sort of writing, not like old English, but more archaic sounding. But I don't know, me and Ash have, a very close bond and mad respect for each other's creative processes.
We do.
So if there's things that he doesn't think work, I'm sure he'll tell me. And like, I won't be as prominent. Like, he's still the main vocalist and main writer, and I'll add and collaborate with whatever I can. But we'll make sure it works. Yeah.
I don't think I got the answer to the question. Who's the hardest one to please? Who's the moody one in the band? Who's the one, if you say, this is my best riff, and the guys go, nah, no, it's not.
I don't want to speak for him because he's not here.
It's definitely Mr. Dan.
It's honestly, power to him. It's a very, very valuable resource to have.
Oh, it is. Oh, it really is. This fucking guy, Dan Bulford, let me tell you, man, like, me and him have been friends longer than I've been friends with everybody here. And like, his attention to detail, and here's, if it doesn't fucking slap, get rid of it. Like, stop holding on to it. Like, this is why, when I was saying about the process of the band, like, why he's so important to it, because his taste is phenomenal. His intelligence is incredible. He really does want the best that we can possibly produce, and we wouldn't produce the best without Dan Bulford. Like, it just is the case. And he can be a moody motherfucker, and he can be he can be a difficult man to deal with. Me and him have had many bust-ups in the past, but at the end of the day, like, when it comes down to it, like, mine and his goals are very similar. That, like, this has to be the best. We can't allow any form of mediocrity in this band. That does not exist, and that goes for all of us. But like, he is very in terms of like enforcing that, very, very, very important.
Sure. That's something I will say about Dan is when he was or running through some of the bass lines with me off the album, things like that. I wouldn't by any stretch call him a perfectionist, because he's not that neurotic about it, but he knows exactly how things should be, and he won't settle for anything less. Like you were saying, do you know what I mean? It's very oriented on how well put together things are, and it is, and there needs to be a clean result with him, which is an amazing thing to work with. And there's so much credibility towards it, I think, especially in the space of this band as well.
Yeah,
okay,
I agree.
His opinion I respect more than almost anyone on earth. And he's usually right, whether I like it or not. He's usually right.
Yeah, that's it. It's whether you like it or not.
Like, there's riffs that are on the album.
You're pissing me off talking
this is not good.
Shit.
And then he was like, no, it's good. And it ended up being like the most popular songs. And I was like, yeah, you're right. You son of a bitch. Yeah.
Well, do you know something? It sounds as if there's a completely strong band unit. So hopefully with this lineup, stay together for many, many years to come, many, many more releases. I've got a few more questions to ask you, but Ash, I want you to think about this. When I asked the guys about at the end what instruments they use for the recording, I want you to think about what's the song or the chorus or the verse that means more to you than any other part of the album. All right. So I want you to start thinking about that, right? So,
Sure.
going to the artwork for the album. So, who done it for you? What information did you give them? Did you give them the whole album? Did you give them the song titles? Did you give them the lyrics? Or did somebody say, this is what's in my head, this is what I want you to portray? What information did you give the artist to do it for you?
Who is it? I don't want to keep talking all the time, but that should I do this one?
No, you should. You
Yeah?
should.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
It is me. Fuck's sake. Sorry. I don't mean to be talking.
You
all
know
the
it
time.
better than us. So.
I know.
So, what information did you give yourself?
Well. It was with Mark Cooper, who has done some very well-known artworks, but isn't really very well known as an artist, but is an incredible artist. We originally went with somebody else, and I won't say that their name, and they fucked us around. And I'm really glad in the end that we didn't, because we got the best result from Mark Cooper. And what we did was, I mean, I'm a creative by nature, so we created mood boards. So we made mood boards. We pulled together all of our influences, particularly from sci-fi films. We're talking. I don't need to reel them out. I'm sure people can guess. But we pieced it all together. Wrote a brief. Put it on a big board. Give that to them, and he just fucking knocked out the park, man. Honest to God, the guy just did the best job that we could ever think of. And
so the album then, was that like the first take, or was there a wee bit of coming and going?
Bro, it wasn't. We had maybe like a couple of like, oh, maybe like this, maybe the monster can. Do you know what? It was honestly a first fucking home run out the park.
No,
so, I don't know what else to say about it. That's it.
Brilliant.
That's it.
No, fair play. Listen, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I've only got like a few questions left. I appreciate that you're sitting out in the cold, but I'm sure that the pint of Guinnesses and everything that you're having is making up for it. So I do appreciate this conversation. But still talking about the visual side of the album, you've already got a couple of songs on YouTube, whether it's just like the record labels and it's just like the album cover and things. But have you thought about doing that like a video? I don't know whether like you've looked at like an abandoned warehouse or a cellar, or like you're in a forest and you've got the light shining down. Have you thought about doing a band video, a song video?
Ash, you should answer this again.
Yeah. Well, sorry. Well, so I'm a video producer. That's my job. I worked doing social video for years, and also me and Tom Cronin, we actually became friends because I employed him, and so yes, there's definitely a by the end of the year, I would very much like to produce a video for Mutagenic Host. And
are you allowed to say which song in particular, or is it still up in the air?
Well, it's likely that it'll probably be a new song. To be honest, you talk about singles and albums and EPs, but once you've done an album in a year, like I won't stop promoting this album throughout the whole year. So until it gets that point, we'll have written new material and we'll want to do a bit of a teaser, and I feel like a single music video by the end of the year would be a pretty good way to start it off. So lots of ideas.
Good. Have you got new completed songs already?
No. we're just starting the writing process. We've been writing like personally, but
Yeah.
next couple months we're gonna start really
Well, do you know
getting
something? You know exactly where to send it. You know exactly where it's going to be played first, and you know exactly who's going to be on the radio. No Ash. I'm welcome to all the other members of the band coming on. No Ash.
Right.
He was an absolute hooligan when he was on a couple of weeks ago.
Sounds about right. Well, appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely, but I mean, obviously, I do Moshville Radio behind me. I also do like Moshville Times and stuff like that. So you need something reviewed, you know exactly where to send it. So let's get it done. But I've just
Cheers,
got a
man.
couple of fun questions to end the interview, and it's a question for everybody. You've got a 40-minute set. So because Eddie, you're the top left, what's the song off the Disease Machine that you're looking forward to playing the most, and why?
I'm looking forward to playing the most. So when we did our album release, which was the full album start to finish, I really enjoyed. Well, Organo's always Organo Metallic will always be my favorite song to play off that album.
Why is that?
It's got a little bass solo in it.
That's exactly what I'm hoping you were going to say.
Well, I've got that right.
So,
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. No, it's that song.
So something tells me he's like the Les Claypool of death metal. He's going to have like My Name Is Mud's bass riffs in the next Mutagenic Host release and stuff like that.
Well, it depends how much they'll let me play, to be honest with you. I wish, but you know, it might be just a case smack round the head and go, no, yeah, play that in a different band. You know what I mean?
Cool. Since you're on the top right, Jack, it's your turn. What songs you like playing the most and why?
Let's think. It's a lot of.
It might be fifth on the set list, and you might just play the four normally, and then your fifth one comes along, and you give it your all.
Yeah, I think it's Incomprehensible Methods of Slaughter is the one. It's just it's really hype. Basically, because the beginning, because usually live we don't always do this, but we play the interlude, we play Directive off the album beforehand, which gives us a little break to like, you know, tune up and do shit. And then coming out of that into the bass, and then I don't have to really play anything for a good 10-15 seconds, so I can just kind of headbang and groove along to it, but it goes really hard. And it's fun and groovy, and it's not too complicated that I can kind of just headbang the whole time, which is kind of just what I want to do most of the time. It's just a fun song to play, but there's none that I really don't enjoy playing. Well, I love playing all of them. But
Of course. Thanks, Jack. George, you're bottom left, mate. So what's the song off the album that you're that you love playing live?
I would say my favorite song to play live is probably Artificial Harvest of the Obscene.
So why is that then?
Just because, like, similar to what Jack was saying, starts like pretty heavy, picks up like speed. It's got some good like big sections, like the end section's like really cool to play. Lots of like solos and big riffs. So yeah, big fan of that song.
The one thing that you've got is stamina, right? The other two guys, they've got the easy thing of just doing that, you know. Is there any song that you look on the set list and you go, oh fuck?
I know it's
it's probably going to be Swarm, just because
that's my favorite song. You can't say that.
Your favorite song, what? And that's like the most like stamina, you know, endurance song that I have to play, because like the amount of like double kicks in a song. So,
well, you know what to do, guys. If
I love playing it live. It's great.
Just for the next gig, you're playing Swarm first.
Yeah, could be a shot. To be fair, you should try it. Yeah,
fair play, man. Fair play. Ash, is there a song that you like playing live more than others?
I it's probably different to it's a different song to what you're going to ask me about the next question about, which is the most important. But in terms of like vocal performance, people would probably think that it's incomparable Methods of Slaughter, but I find that the hardest because like is a vocal led track. But I actually find Organo the most fluid and the most easy to do because the I put loads of words too many into a song. So Organo is like very regimented and it's easy for me to remember, like because I have brain fog too much. So, but yeah, Organo I love to perform simply because it really rolls on. You know, like it's very fluid in the way that it's structured. So I really love that song for that reason. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Cool. And see how I said about a 40-minute set. So say like you play 30 minutes of the album, would you revisit your demo and play a song from your demo to end off the set or something like that? Or play it in the middle of the set or something like that? Or is it just solely the new album?
That's a good one.
We have been doing that. Yeah.
That's a good one for George because he does all that's what he does. Yeah.
So like
yeah,
typically we will drop in like Hive on Intelligence and Force Bodily Terror into the set just because they're like two like really heavy tunes. They got really good mosh parts. And our like aim of the game is to just make as much violence as we can when we're playing, I guess, and just get the crowd going. And we just want to see people just going absolutely mental and just trashing the room.
Friendly violence, none of this crowd killing shit.
Well, yeah,
no.
maybe not crowd killing, but we like to see people just getting flown across the room. That's quite fun. So
one of my favorite parts of the set is when I look down and see that it's Hive next. I don't know why, but Hive on Intelligence is like just seeing the reaction from the crowd because it's one of our slower ones. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just seeing the reaction is like it never fails to make you feel like, oh yeah, do you know what I mean? It's the
It's a Pure
do you
Marsh
know what I
song.
mean?
Pure Marsh song written by Sammy.
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't like to mosh. Never moshes. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Well, listen, gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, but this is probably where I should open another 40-minute section because I'm going to talk about the make and the model, your pedals, your amps, what you use for the recording of the album. Now, Eddie, I know that you weren't on the album, but on the next recording of what is it you play live? What's your bass setup? What's your pedals? Something tells me you're the geek of the band and you've got the biggest pedal board.
It's completely
I
right.
unironically do have the biggest pedal board. So, or do you want me to just run through what I'm playing with live?
Yeah, tell us your bass.
Okay. So I have a Spectre NS2 Pulse 5-string, which is quite a fucking nice bass to be honest. It's got EMG.
See, to be honest with you, like you're just showing off, right? You don't need a fifth string. What do you use the fifth string for? A bass is 4 strings.
But we play in B, don't we? So I have to, you know, if I'm playing in B standard, it means I don't have to detune a 4-string because I've got that 5th string already there. Don't need to detune at all. But yeah, it's got EMGs. It's something I really like about that bass is it's slightly extended scale length. So I think it's 26 or 27, which means I got a little bit more tension on the strings, which makes it just a bit easier to play, a bit faster.
Is there a particular brand of strings that you like to use?
I've always gone with Ernie Ball my entire life, and you know, that's just my preferred. I don't think I've ever really tried anything else. It's just been what I do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then pedals, I mainly just play through a Dark Glass. What is it? Omega Ultra, which is just a preamp on the floor that I've got all my presets saved in, and that goes straight into the PA. So instead of lugging a fucking bass head or a cab around, walk in with my pedal board, put that through the PA, jobs are good. And do you know what I mean? Like it's very simple and very easy, and you know that's why I use it.
He knows his stuff, ladies and gentlemen. He knows his stuff.
Yeah,
just quickly to add, So Eddie's part of Cut and Run, which is like a hardcore collective that puts on shows. Shout Cut and Run, and we were at a show of theirs the other night, and there was a guy there who had a bass with just two strings.
No.
It was like a what are they like a fucking what are they
There was
They
a
were just
band
like
called Dad in Denmark that just had two strings. Yeah, it was crazy.
two strings.
Respect. Hard.
yeah,
Cool.
they were a class band. It was
Yeah.
good.
Jack, what's your guitar choice, mate? And something tells me you probably got sitting right next to you.
Yeah, it's right there. Well, my bass lives in guitars on both sides. Yeah. So I'm left-handed, which sucks. For playing guitars. What? Okay. I'm sorry. But I use two guitars for recording. I used one for the solos and one for just the rhythm parts. And so I have an Ironbird Extreme, BC Rich, of course.
Yeah.
That I use. That's my baby. I love that thing. It is.
Oh, sorry, I have to go back there.
Yeah.
So you've got two separate guitars for the. So what does one do and what does the other do?
So I have a Schecter Blackjack, which is like a weird Schecter that I hadn't really seen, but my friend suggested it to me, and it's actually plays lovely. It's just one of their left-handed models. That's interesting. I've had that. That was one of my first guitars. But that has Seymour Duncan Nazgul pickups, which just sound fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So that I use to record all the rhythm parts, basically everything besides the leads. And then my Ironbird has it's got.
Well, that's a question for you then. Sorry to interrupt. If you're playing a song live and you're doing the rhythm section with one guitar, does that mean you have to quickly run off stage, get your lead guitar, and play the solos?
No, luckily. Usually I play the Ironbird as much as I can. If I break strings, which is what happened, I've been cursed the last couple of shows where my strings have broken for no discernible reason, but I've luckily had my other guitar, so in interludes I've gone and grabbed that. But yeah, because I've got the whammy on my BC Rich. I've got the Floyd Rose, so I can do the dive bombs and stuff, and I don't have that on my Schecter because Floyd Rose, they're very useful, but they're a fucking pain in the ass. So that's what I use for recording. For like amps and stuff, I just use an EVH 5150 free, and they are amazing. I don't know. I've had a lot of pedals and a lot of heads in my life, and it just sounds great. And I don't use any distortion or like overdrive or anything going into it. I just use the straight blue channel on it and the gain up, and it sounds great. Then I use Ghost Echo by Earthquaker just for like lead ambient stuff, like the beginning of Twisted Helix. But yeah, it's not overcomplicated. I have a lot of pedals. I used to have a big pedal board. But that's more, I don't know. I find that more fun for like different styles of music, like not for playing metal as much, for just like making ambient guitar soundscapes. For this band, it's very stripped down, which I like a lot. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well, you learn new things every day, don't you? So
sorry, Rick. Sorry.
No, carry on, mate.
What's up?
I know the Shakhtar and the EVH is like the sound of MH. Like Jack's like tone, is the sound of MH. Like that is what we started with. Well, what maybe not the EVH, but definitely the Shakhtar, and that set the tone for the. We get a lot of when we have reviews. People are always talking about the sound of MH, and it is literally just from the start. Jack set up, so like he underplays it a little bit, but like that, it really is massively MH.
The pickups you got in there, were they Seymour Duncan Nazguls, is that right?
Nazguls, yeah.
Yeah, they sound so raw. They have a little bit of a more raw like tone to them that I think is quite quintessential to the tone. Do you know what I mean?
I love them. I love
Yeah.
them. The Ironbird was just like a more expensive, fancier, high-end guitar, and the
Yeah.
Fishman pickups in it are good, but I much prefer the Seymour Duncans.
I thought he was disagreeing with you, Eddie, because he was sitting going like that, and I was like, "Oh my god! If I've started an argument, the band's going to split up."
No,
Yeah,
no,
I know.
it was
That's what I was
me.
thinking as well. I was
I
like,
don't know
oh,
why I was
shit.
shaking my
I
head.
should mute my mic again.
No, I don't know what that was. I think it was me being like he's nailed it. Because it's completely true. Yeah.
Good shit, good shit. Very, very quickly, well, we've got the last two. George, tell us about your drum setup, mate. What's the style that you use? What's your drumsticks, and how heavy are your drumsticks, mate?
So I like to go with like the heaviest drumsticks I can find. So that tends to be like a 2B.
You're an absolute
They're
hooligan.
like, yeah, exactly. They're like tree trunks.
He's a big fucking
But
geezer. He needs big drumsticks. You know what I mean?
the heavier the better.
Well,
Um,
they're fucking spanners that he uses.
It's
I
like
used to
rolling
play
things,
like
honestly.
a four-piece kit. So that was like two toms and a kick drum.
Yeah.
Then I was kind of like, this isn't good enough for death metal. So I was like, I need to put another tom on. So I went to like three toms, snare three toms.
Okay.
So I could do like the big fills like all the way around. So,
Yeah.
and then in terms of cymbals, I just do right crash, left crash, and then I've got this like big gigabell ride,
Is there a
which has
particular
like
make of cymbals that you prefer to use?
yeah, I've recently like switched over to Paiste cymbals because I just like the Rude brand, and I think they sound like really really good. They sound great for metal music, death metal. So
Yeah.
like they can cut through like heavy guitars, bass, so it's perfect. And then like a big like snare with like a big crack in it is like important. So I've been
Listen,
doing like a lot of tuning with my snare and like tuning it up so it sounds like really just like a gunshot when I hit it. So
one, I'm glad that you don't use a biscuit tin snare. And two, guys, whatever he says, I will let it happen because I wouldn't argue with a fucker. But but yeah, thanks very much for that, George. But last but not least, Ash, what's the lyrics that you're most proud of, mate, to end off the interview?
Well, so there's two because one is from the demo, which is metaphysical maladies, which is like a very like it's a what I'm going to say is like a different it's a change up between it being a very personal thing to being a much more broader thing. But metaphysical maladies has is a song about uh substance abuse and a personal problem with that, particularly around feeling like that there's a spiritual issue that I can't get over. So that was something that I did there, and then then to move into the disease machine, I feel like it is Swarm, really, like systematic, War Against Restless Machines is a allegorical song against about the uprising of the working class and the people against these huge machines, which are the way in which that the state is controlled, the way in which the global issues are global politics, but particularly around unraveling the hatred, right?
Yeah.
Like with death metal, a lot of it sometimes is a reflection on hatred and aggression toward other humans, but with this album it's more about finding the courage to unravel the hatred in the machine, or this is something I feel that we're getting to a point in history where we've just had enough. Like everybody endures too much hatred and vile behavior, particularly abuses from those who are the people that are meant to that are meant to govern. Governments are fucking absolute bullshit. I mean, today, even if we look at Labour, like let's literally today, Keir Starmer, with these fucking, abuses against people with disability, it's a bastardization of what Labour should be. And worldwide, if we're thinking about the likes of Trump and the fucking absolute ridiculous fucking nonsense that he's coming out with in terms of the way in which Ukraine, in terms of Ukraine and the way that Ukraine are, and the selling of Greenland and all these things, at the end of the day, I feel like more than ever, there's a very huge cavern in terms of who the people are and who we're governed by and the abuses of power. And these just giant, huge machines, whether that's, AI taking away people's jobs, whether that's
definitely going to
people
happen.
like Trump.
Corporations.
Yeah, abusing their power. There just needs to be a point in which when do we actually all stand up? When do we actually try and change the future of humankind? Like the destruction of the planet is happening, the destruction of children by fucking drones. Like when are we actually going to say that enough is enough? And when are we going to mobilize? When are we going to actually, try and change the future? Because I'm telling you,
the way in which this world is going, it's all downhill. So at the end of the day, if we all can't see the things, the horrible truths that are in front of us, then we only are to blame ourselves. So as they say, people that ignore, the good men that ignore, it just grates on me heavily, and I just feel like
I can see that, mate. I can absolutely see that. A very poignant end and a lot to think about. And I love the fact that you put so much effort and work into your lyrics, as you all do with your musical instruments. And collectively, you've created a huge album in the Disease Machine. So where can we get it? How can we get in touch with Mutagenic Host? Where can we go?
Got all the socials. We got Instagram, Facebook. Do we have TikTok now? Do we do that?
We got TikTok.
I think we have
That's
it.
Eddie's
That's my newest venture. It's the youngest member of the band. That's my thing to run.
But yeah, on all streaming services. If you want merch, go to Bandcamp. We still got some stuff up there. We got shirts and CDs and some tapes left. There'll be a second press of the album coming on LP. It's gonna look fucking sick. The colors are really cool. Good. You'll see. Yeah, that's it. Come to a show. Come say hi. Come hang out.
Well, hopefully, if we allow you across the border, I mean, Hadrian's Wall's like a foot tall. If you can climb over that, we'll let you in.
I'll have trouble with that.
But hopefully, we will see you across the border, because I'm especially looking for. Sorry, George?
So we're well overdue a trip to Scotland.
100%.
And come and play for you guys. So
yeah, absolutely.
Let's get that sorted soon.
Absolutely. It's a shame it didn't happen in January, but it will happen.
Yeah, it was only we were gonna me and George were like saying, like, when we were like, oh fuck it, we'll just fucking drive straight into that storm. We can give a fuck. Like, let's go to Scotland. Like, we were so up for it, and then obviously Quando was like, nah, you literally can't come. Like, all my kennels with all they're in absolute disarray, and there's a fucking giant tree
in his house.
Like, oh yeah, maybe we can't.
Roof blow off.
Yeah. But at least at the end of the day, you played a jazz bar, didn't you?
We did play a jazz bar.
Yeah, we ended. Yeah.
The sound
was so funny. Like, people were underneath in this little bar. Yeah, he was sick. Yeah, and shout out Manchester hardcore shows, right? Yeah, Manchester hardcore shows.
Yeah, that's right.
They put it on. Yeah.
Cool.
It was
and they're all eating downstairs. We're fucking screaming bloody murder.
Yeah.
Quite right, quite
Can I
right.
do some shout outs, Rick?
Of course you can.
Yeah. So shout out Dry Cough Records. That is the fucking home of death metal in this country. If you're not following that label, if you're not supporting that label, are you really a death metal fan? In terms of America, Gurgling Gore, that is the cornerstone of DIY death metal in America as well. Make sure you're following them. Memento Mori, follow Raul. He's only on Facebook because he's probably really old. And
Better hope so.
but he puts out all the best though. Shout out Bolty from Stuck on Name Studios in Nottingham. Shout out Charlie from Monolith Studios in London. Make sure that you go with them. Shout out who else? All of our friends really. Shout out Boom.
Eddie's dad.
Yeah,
Eddie's dad. Boom.
Big up Marcus.
Boom.
Boom.
Yeah. Quando and all of them boys in Scotland, they're ripping out fucking amazing artists all the time.
Scotland is booming at the moment. It's absolutely huge at the moment. I followed like death metal in Scotland for like 30 years and stuff like that, and it's never been as strong as it is just now. So as soon as you can get up here, get your arse up here. Because I'll very much be looking forward to seeing Mutagenic Host. If you need a place to stay, no, I can recommend plenty of hotels for you to stay at. No, if you need somewhere to stay, you know where I am. There's always beers, and Mr. Daniels will pop in for a visit. I'm sure of that as well. But it's been an absolute.
Hey, I'm coming to drink Jack Daniels with you, bro. That's what's happening. We're coming to you.
I don't think I could live through this. I don't think I'll see the following day if that was to happen. But it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you guys. Anything that happens with Mutagenic Host, let me know about it. Do what we can to promote it. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and stay well.
You too, man. Thanks so much. This was sick.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ricky.
How are you, Ricky?
Cheers, man. Thanks so much. Thank you for this.